pioneered FinTech department. And we actually, we went out and reached out to the ecosystem, and we offer like BD, we offer like, we are like the one-stop solution for all FinTech companies. So we try to network and link up FinTechs to whatever services we have in our platform, within our company back then. So like, for example, like if let's say you want to set up a company in Korea, then we can link you up with, PwC Korea. So that's what we kind of do back in, I kind of do it back in PwC. And outside of all of this, I'm also the treasurer for Singapore FinTech Association. So my role in SFA is actually basically safeguarding the assets, safeguarding the monies, managing the grants, managing the budget, handling day-to-day financial operations, doing some projections. And for SFA, we are actually a non-for-profit organization. We are trying to be an ecosystem facilitator through ways of networking activities, webinars, upskilling, and we have a whole range of events that we have for the year. Yeah, so I mean, feel free to ask any questions or introduce yourself. I don't mind getting to know you guys. Yeah. So maybe Matthew or Berlin, maybe you can share. Or you have any questions?
Turn on your video. Is it? Yeah, thank you. There's no question. Maybe I have one. Can you tell us about your journey, your FinTech journey? I don't think we can hear you. I think there could be some connectivity issue. Shi Mei?
I can hear you just fine though.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks like there's some connectivity issue.
Probably on Shi Mei's side.
Ah, okay.
Okay, it's running again.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Maybe should we?
Hi, sorry, I didn't hear anything because my video froze just now.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, maybe you can tell us about your journey, your FinTech startup journey.
Oh, yeah, hi, Suhui. Nice to meet you, finally, virtually.
Very nice to meet you too.
Yeah, so I actually shared with the rest just now, but I don't mind
okay, sorry, did I just kind of join in late?
Yeah. Oh, I see. Hi, Richard. Yeah. More people just joined in the room.
Yeah, so maybe we'll wait for them before you have to repeat your story again.
Okay. Tak Hong just shared. He's a former CEO of a brokerage firm and doing a startup in Hong Kong. Yes, definitely. It's really yes, power everything. That is really the startup life. Yeah, so Spark, we are 50-man company. So my team is for finance side, right? There's only 3 of us.
Also, challenges. I don't know how you're gonna do that, or having a confession page or something.
Okay, hi Benjamin. So I think your question is what are the challenges that I face?
So you can build up to the height of the customer.
And the type of the, sorry?
No, I think it's some background noise. I didn't have.
Oh, okay, I can share again.
I think I just mute the
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'm the CFO of Spark Systems. So formerly, from prior to Spark, I was actually with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. So ex-auditor turned into CFO for a startup. So we have like a 3-man team out of a 50-man company. So it's been challenging. Like we do a lot of things besides finance. So I guess one of the really good things about being in a more flat structure is that you get more you get to see more things. You get to see how ops do their things. You get to see how developers run. Information is very accessible. Like you can just be sitting in office. I mean, pre-COVID days, like you can be sitting in office and you can be hearing like, oh, what's going on at the other end of the office is really, really exciting in that sense. You get to really get involved in a lot of things. So like, for example, I was also doing a little bit on the regulatory front. So I also liaise with lawyers to apply for licenses. We don't have like an actual compliance person to say, because we do outsourcing. So we outsource like, our KYCs, we outsource our bookkeeping, we outsource our corporate secretarial services. But when you outsource, you actually need to know some kind of level of information so that you can actually communicate the right information across the people that you work with. So really like understanding the business, understanding the product is one of the benefits of actually being in a more flat structure. You get to like really learn across the various departments there is. In terms of challenges, I would say like, yeah, the lack of structure is probably something, especially for people who come from a background whereby they are so used to a more like routine-based kind of work or something that has already been established is, it's something that we don't really have in a startup. You are the one who actually have to set up the protocols. You are the one who actually have to be the person to get your sleeves up and rolling up your sleeves and really like doing the day-to-day activities. So it's really on you to actually find the solutions. Yeah. So like for my team, like I have one executive, which is like just like fresh grad, and one senior executive, which she works, I think, for about 5 years. So I mean, like, I tell them like, okay, so this is something, try to brainstorm for, processes, how can we put more governance for a startup? So like startup, obviously, like, it's not like a bank, you really have very stringent governance. Things keep changing every day. Like the process can be like this today, and then tomorrow suddenly something new pops by, and then we have to adjust accordingly. So it's one of those things that we really just got to be very fast and very quick on our toes to actually make sure we adapt and we catch up with whatever is going on in the company. So yeah, it's really it's very fast paced as well. So yeah. All right, nice meeting you, Su Hui. Yep, thank you. See you.
Thank you, Shi Mei. Yeah, thank you. I got to do my rounds. Thanks for sharing. Bye.
All right. Yeah, okay, I have more people in the room. This is very exciting. Hi, Winston, Clarissa, RS, Andrew. Yeah, Yuan Chung, any questions, or feel free to, share, your background or anything. Like, I'm happy to hear like, your stories as well. Like I'm trying to keep this as interactive rather than one way, so that, it's more engaging per se. Yeah, any questions, just shoot me. Don't worry. I won't judge. Okay. Right. Okay, maybe what I can do is I can also share more challenges that I face on a day-to-day basis. What What else? Yeah, so I guess one of the other challenges is probably like, expanding into regions where we are not very familiar with, like outside of Singapore. So like, we had some plans to actually set up, in other countries, in other regions. And it's really like, how do we navigate across our network? How do we find out the right information, or how do we connect with the right people so we get the right information when we actually want to set up, like, when we want to pursue something new. So for example, if you want to pursue setting up a company in Korea, for example, like what are the taxation regimens, or like what sort of company are you setting? Are you setting up a branch, or are you setting up an office, or are you setting up a company? What are the corporate secretarial things that you need to take account of? What are the costs involved that you need to actually take account of when you actually set those other regions? And yeah, so it's really like, navigating through all this to find the information that you need. So there's a lot of like research that needs to be done, really expanding your network, talking to people, finding out information. So I really feel that, a lot of things, it's really about who you're connected with, how you navigate through those conversations, really finding your way and really finding information while sharing information. So I think that is one of the things that really helped me along the journey. Is like, if you know people, you can actually just call them up and say like, hey, maybe for example, there's a CEO of a corporate secretarial company. I can call him and I'll say like, hey, I want to set up a company in Korea, can you like connect me to someone else who can actually help me with this? And then he'll do that. Yeah, so that was probably one of the things that, really helped. Oh yeah, maybe I can share also about fundraising. So, okay, I'm just going to ask you guys. So how much do you all know about fundraising? Yeah, help me out here. So then I know like how deep I should go at. Because if not, I might bore you all with if you all know about it already.
Personally, for me, not much. I don't
Not
come from a
much,
finance background.
Okay, so you're studying finance now.
No, I'm not studying finance.
Oh.
I'm not from a finance background.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's fine.
okay. So, yeah, maybe I can share that on my journey on fundraising. I guess it's probably one of the more interesting and exciting, exciting things that I have experienced being in a finance role. Because like in finance, you do, all the financial reporting and accounting, the not so sexy stuff, which you feel like, it's like debits, credits, which kind of like can be boring for some people. Yeah, so fundraising is fun. Yeah, so it really is a marathon, not so much a sprint. It's a really long journey. So how it starts is it starts from the point when either you reach out to investors or investors reach out to you, and you give them a pitch about, a quick pitch about what your company does. And then if they are keen, they will come and actually, talk to you, and they will start to meet more people from the company. So usually it will start off with like either the CEO or the CFO. And then after that, they will, go in and talk to the CTO and the COO to find out more. And then once they find out more, then maybe they're like, okay, this is pretty interesting. Yeah. Share me your data room. So what's a data room? So a data room is where you actually put in information about your company into a shared drive, into a Dropbox. So like, for example, your incorporation certificates, or like, your company's financials. So you put those basic information inside for them to actually go in to have a quick look to either A, understand more about you, or B, validate some of the facts that you actually shared. So they will go in and then they will check, oh, okay. Then they're like, all right. So they are quite keen, they're interested. So what's next? So then they will, say like, okay, hey, let's do it. Let's get the due diligence up and running. So then they will actually, request more information that you actually need to put in the data room. So this is the part when, wow, things just get really complex. Yes, very painful. Yes, Andrew, have you fundraised before? Yeah, it's really very painful. So the lawyers will come in. They'll get their lawyers to come in as well. So from Spark side, we have to have our own lawyers, and the investor will need their own lawyers. So there will be their investment team and Spark investment team, i.e. me, finance, my lawyers, their lawyers. So what the lawyers do versus what do we do? So lawyers, right, they will get the shareholder agreement running. So a shareholder agreement is like basically something that, that actually stipulates all the legal terms and all the commercials and the requirements that you actually need to put into this shareholder agreement. And the lawyers would actually be the ones like negotiating the terms. And this is where it gets really complex, because for us, for the investment side and the finance side, we need to know what the lawyers are doing. And most of the times the lawyers would be, they will just start going astray. And you're like, hey, what's this new clause that you put into the shareholder agreement? Then, and I'm sure you've read like contracts, or like you've read like your TNCs. I bet none of you read your TNCs, right? It's so complicated. So you actually need to really understand underneath all the legal language, what is the implication of that. So like, for example, your shareholder rights, or your waiver of first refusal and all that. So like, certain, when you have new shareholders coming in, they might want certain new privileges, or so it really depends on okay, 10 minutes left for the session. Okay. Yeah, sorry, it's still like very early stage, but anyway, I'll just try to wrap it up quickly. Yeah, so they'll want to know like, so they'll have like, they will start to negotiate for like, better rights, or like, how much money they should put in exchange for what, who has the right to actually approve certain things. So one thing that to take note of is that not all shareholder agreements are the same. Like, all companies have different shareholder agreements. Why? Because it really depends on the negotiation between the investors and the startups. So like, as a startup, so like obviously both parties, both ends want to they want to protect their interests, or they want the best out of a deal. So it's like, you go to the night market and then you want to haggle for something. Obviously, you want the cheapest deal for the best quality product. So it's something similar in a very less layman term, but it expands to all the terms on the term sheet and the shareholder agreement. So there's a lot of negotiation that goes there. And then, this whole process like can take up for months, like, like 6 months, 8 months, from the early stage until the end. It depends how fast both parties can come to an agreement, and at the same time the lawyers catching up with the legal terms. Yeah, and then and what happens after that is that you will start to like, okay, you need to get your constitution updated, you need to get your shareholder certs out of the way, then you have all this, how do you manage the monies that come into your company? Like, does it happen at the same time? Like when you sign, then the money goes in, or do you like have milestones that you need to achieve, then only the money come in? So there's a lot of like things that come into play here, which is super interesting. There's a lot of variations out there, and regulation, we haven't even talked about regulation. So like, for example, oh no, I froze. Okay, so for example, like in the States, you know, they will say like, oh, okay, a company cannot have more than a certain percentage of voting shares. So how do you play around, you know, all these regulations while managing your investor expectations? Yeah, so it's really quite a tedious process. Yeah, but it's very interesting. And, you know, once the deal is done, then you have like your PR, you know, you start to rah-rah, or like, do you want to keep it under the water and not talk about it? So there's a lot of factors that come to play in a fundraise. Yeah, and it actually helps with the valuation of the company. So, you know, there's this term about pre-money, you know, and post-money. So like pre-money is what price you set at, and then they'll put in the money, then there'll be your post-money. And then, you know, for rounds moving forward, you can actually look at the valuation of your company and, you know, see like, okay, we have grown, we have actually scaled, you know, this is how, you know, maybe we should have like a 30% uptake, 50% uptake. So that's how valuation comes into play as well. Yeah. Any questions before we break out?
Perhaps I can ask one. I'm sorry.
Wow,
I think
that's
Napong has a question.
Okay, do you raise a MOU or contract? Okay, so it's actually a shareholder agreement, share subscription agreement. So memorandum of understanding is more of like partnerships, yeah, and contracts is more like for vendors. Before the legal stuff come in, sometimes there's this thing called term sheet. So a term sheet is not legally binding, but it kind of sets the commercials that you have with that you agree beforehand, which would be reflected in the shareholder agreement or the share subscription agreement. So those are the contracts per se. And who signs the shareholder agreement? Depending on your constitution. So like basically like all your shareholders have to agree on the shareholder agreement whenever you fundraise. Country ruling, does it adhere to? If clients are from Korea, is it under? Okay, so this one back to negotiation. Which legislation do you want? So it's really like, okay, if you want to be Singapore, right, then you have to tell your investors, I want this term to be, you know, I want our shareholder agreement to be regulated under Singapore laws. But it really depends. Like, I mean, if you want their money as investors, sometimes it's a give and take. So do you want to give in and, you know, work around them and adhere to Korean laws, or do you still want to push forward Singapore laws while considering the fact that you have existing shareholders on your agreement, on your cap table? So you also need, you know, to manage your board. So there's a few stakeholders to manage. So this one is quite open, and it's really open to like, who are your stakeholders? What comes out of the negotiation? Third one, if the company is set up under a tax haven like BVI, what is the assurance that the client have? Fundraising. Okay. So we have this thing called KYC. So every time when we fundraise from VCs or investors, so some VCs, they actually do set up in BVI countries. So we will actually have to really go through our world checks to make sure that we as a company have shown that we have done the necessary due diligence to have the assurance that we need on a very like high level basis. You know, whatever that needs to be done on the governance side. Secondly, I think usually like if you deal with investors, you see the profile of the company. So if you have like Sequoia coming in, or if you have like Vika Ventures coming in, like all the big players, that is, I mean, they already have the reputation. So that gives you that level of assurance as well. Do you need to set up SPV for tax purposely, especially withholding tax? So this is from investor perspective or the startup perspective? Both. Okay, so for investor, it depends. So it depends how the investment side is. They structure their is how they structure their fund. So I noticed some VCs, right? They will actually set up funds, so individual funds to actually like invest in us. And yeah, I believe that probably they have some tax incentives by doing so. For a startup perspective, we don't need to, because the agreement is between you and the fund, and the money actually is supposedly going into the group or to the particular entity whereby we are supposed to deliver certain things. Like for example, like okay, like let's say I'm Spark. Okay, I share that, okay, I'm an FX trading platform. So obviously the money should be coming to me, not my other entity, which does a separate product. So it really depends on your pitch. Unless right, you say that, okay, I want to raise money for this new thing that I want to do, then maybe, if it's very initial, then that's when you do the setup. So it depends. Actually, yeah, it depends at what stage of fundraising are you at. Yeah, and the purpose or the intention behind the fundraise. Yeah, no worries. Andrew, I'm guessing you're from finance background. Okay. Any more questions? Richard, I see you're very, you're very animative, but you never ask anything.
No, I'm just here to sit in because I'm just trying to understand about the the fintech industry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it's very interesting to hear all the points, and especially when you mention about Korea. I'm currently in South Korea right now. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
Wow, all the way from South Korea.
yeah. I'm a Singaporean, just here to sit in.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, right, right, right. Okay. Will you be coming back soon?
Well, it depends on the situation. My wife is a Korean, so just being
Oh,
here and there
okay.
would not make a big difference. Yeah.
Actually, Korea fintech is doing very well. Like, I think I just saw on the news lately that is going to be the next hub or something. And F10 is this accelerator incubator that I'm with. They actually do, they actually set up another like accelerator in Korea as well. Yeah, you can check it out. It's called F10.
F10, yeah, sure do. Yeah, I do know that they have the some sort of a Silicon Valley in the southern part of Korea.
Ah, yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. Quite a lot of interesting Korean startups there as well.
Yep.
Mm.
Thanks for sharing though. It's a lot
Okay.
of pointers to understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets really technical and really deep. Like, yeah, it can be a very deep black hole. But yeah, I mean, I think coming out of it, I felt it was quite a good experience, good and a painful experience. Okay, thank you, Benjamin. Bye. Oh, yeah, actually, they do onshore as well. Okay. So, there's this, if I'm not mistaken, they do FX, but they don't have the technology, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Of course, I want to venture in it, but we'll get into trouble. Oh, Bitcoin, that one I'm not sure that it's not my area of expertise.
Well,
But
they do. It's quite popular. I mean, among my Korean friends, and my family friends, they are doing it. But FX not very popular because I'm doing FX myself. So when I talk to them about FX, they are like, "What is that?" And after I check out, it's about 35% tax on FX if they were trading. Yeah,
Oh.
versus on stocks is free, tax free.
Oh, okay, okay. This is
Yeah.
on the retail side lah.
Yes,
But I
correct.
think
Yeah.
I believe that on the FI side, they actually do some kind of FX trading, but it's all onshore. They don't do offshore FX trading. There's quite a bit of regulation there, right? Like I think Seo Money Brokers is like the only money broker in Korea, if I'm not mistaken.
I heard a lot of broker closed down in Korea.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think for Bitcoin, right, is like, I mean, the idea about decentralization, I guess it makes sense that, you know, everywhere in the world, everyone owns, you know, everyone can actually go into Bitcoin to a certain extent if there's no regulatory clampdown by the government. Yeah. Very interesting.
All right, thank you. I will make a move. Nice to know you, Shi Mei, and everyone.
Okay.
I'll move to another room.
Okay.
All right, see you.
All right,
Bye.
see you. Bye.
Thank you. Oh yeah, we
Are we done?
we're actually done. So thank you so much, Shi Mei, for sharing.
Okay,
It's very
thanks.
insightful. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
You.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you for those who attended. I'll see you around. It's nice meeting you today. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, hi,
Yeah.
Keith.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Keith,
Hi,
hello.
how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for joining in. Although we are
Absolutely.
ending soon.
Yeah, I'm visiting all the rooms. So thank you so much for presenting today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for your support. And yeah, I see that you're also speaking as well.
Yeah, a couple times. Just today, actually, just this afternoon at 3 p.m. So hope to see you there.
Okay, sure.
And I'm
All right.
glad this was a nice closed door session kind of. There was a really good interactive session. So that was great.
Yeah, I try to keep it interactive. If not, it will be too boring and I think people will fall asleep.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you too. Hey, everyone,
Okay,
we have another couple of events coming up. You can go back to the main room or you can stay and network as well amongst yourselves here. I see there's a few people left. But then we do have currently going on the NUS Inspiring Short Stories. You could join that room at room 6. And also we have at 12 o'clock the FinTech 101 launch, which is by Poly FinTech and Sopnanu Mohanty, the Chief Digital Officer of Monetary Authority of Singapore, will be launching that along with Ching Ching, who heads up innovation at Ning'an Poly. So looking forward to that. Stay around for the rest of the day. Plenty of events. See you again.
All right, see y'all.
All right, thank you, Prof.
Okay, bye.
See you, Shi Mei. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye. See
Thank
you.
you.